Wriothesley, the new character coming in the next 5 days. Now I know some people are broke just like me, but might want to consider pulling for Mr. W Riz. So I thought I might as well make a video mainly about the topic of if you should or why you should pull for Wriothesley. Now in no means is this a guide video, but I'd just like to let you know more about his kit and his playstyle. So since I hate long intros, and I know that you probably do too, let's jump straight into the video. So Wriothesley is the first male cryo catalyst in the game, and he's going to take on the role of a main DPS character. He does not use a book or casts any spells, but instead, he just likes to beat up his enemies with his fists. He uses his normal attacks as his main way of dealing damage, and you're most likely going to be spamming your left mouse button when using him. When he uses charge attack, he does more damage than his normal attacks, but I don't think his playstyle is gonna be like Hu Tao's, where his charge attacks is his main source of damage. It's just his charge attacks do more damage than his normal attacks. It's just the way it is. His elemental skill increases the base damage of his normal attacks, and it also gives him 50% interruption resistance for up to 10 seconds. Yup, Dea is even more useless. After you use his skill and you start normal attacking, he will slowly lose 4.5% of his max HP each hit until he reaches half of his max HP. His skill also generates 1 energy particle every 2 seconds, and this lasts up to 10 seconds. Now for Mr. W Riz's burst. His burst is basically just damage. It's not too special, but I guess we can get into the specifics. After using his burst, you do cryo damage that hits up to 5 times. And it also does Ozia damage every 10 seconds. But it has a large AoE, so that's cool. It doesn't grant any buffs, no crit rate increase, no debuff to enemies, it's just damage. And this is a pretty sad factor. Now for what he ascends into. When leveling up Wriothesley or Wriothesley, I have no idea how to say his name, so please correct me in the comments. It's important to note that he ascends with crit damage. This is always a great thing with cryo main DPS characters, because if his best set is Blizzard Strayer and he ascends with crit damage, then you won't need to focus on crit rates, meaning that it's very possible for even a F2P to have around 230 to 250 crit damage, and whatever amount of crit rate you have. And therefore, that wouldn't be a bad split, meaning that he could do way more damage with this type of split on Blizzard Strayer. Let's get into his passives. Let's start with his Ascension 1 passive. His first passive gives Wriothesley or Wriothesley the Gracious Rebuke buff, which increases his charge attack damage by 50%. This buff will also heal him by 30% of his max HP. Now that sounds cool and all, but this passive only procs once every 5 seconds, and it only procs when his HP is less than 60%. Now considering the fact that he loses HP when he's in his elemental skill, this seems like a pretty useful passive. Now, oh boy, let's get into his fourth Ascension passive. It basically gives him a 6% attack increase when his current HP changes, which can stack up to 5 times and maxes at a 30% attack increase. So overall, this is a pretty good Ascension 4 passive, and it looks like it will be very helpful for his damage. So from all the information given, I guess his talent priority is pretty simple. Level up his normal attacks first because it's his main source of damage, then go for his burst because it's his second main source of damage, and lastly go for his skill, which is the least important part of his kit. But when I say that, I mean damage wise. When you're not talking damage wise, I guess his skill is important because it helps him transform into a stronger state. It basically enhances his damage. Now let's get into the teams. Just know you're probably going to want to run a freeze composition with Wriothesley as the main DPS. Let's just start with some F2P team comps just for my sake. So the first team you can run with Wriothesley or Wriothesley is Mona, Kazuha, and Diona. This team is great because Mona can freeze and help him deal more damage. Kazuha can group and he can help him do more damage as well. And Diona can act as a shielder and a healer just to heal the entire team and protect them. You can also replace Mona with Xingqiu if you don't have Mona. For the whales or light spenders, you can use Wriothesley, Kazuha, Cocofish, and Shenhe. Kazuha can group, Cocofish can be a Hydro applicator and a healer, and Shenhe can increase his damage by a lot. I know there's more to cover, but since this is just an overview, I'm not gonna get into all of that. So, time to share my opinion on Mr. W. Riz. Now, I haven't seen his damage, but something tells me that because his kit is so simple it's actually scary, he's probably going to do just as much damage as Ayaka, because Ayaka's kit is just as simple as Wriothesley's. He might do more or he might do less damage than Ayaka, but something tells me he's going to be up there with her. Well, his damage might be good and all, but we also can't forget what the current meta is. We're still in the Denjo and reaction based meta, and since he's Cryo, just forget about playing him in any Denjo related teams, which basically means forget about playing him in meta teams. Now that definitely does not mean he as a character isn't going to be meta. It just means that he's not going to be in the reaction and flashing color side of things. I also want to talk about how he's a Cryo main DPS, but unlike Neuvillette, who is also a Cryo main DPS, Wriothesley or Wriothesley needs to actually come up close to his enemies, while Neuvillette can just shoot them with his beam from afar. And this definitely makes Neuvillette seem like a more comfortable character, and makes Wriothesley or Wriothesley look somewhere like Hazel. So if you're a fan of Hazel's playstyle, just know W Riz is going to be very similar to that. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, and let me know your opinions down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.